YouTube, it's Monday, June 3rd. There's only 8 games to talk about in the baseball world. Gotta love a good travel day, right? But you know what I do love? I love having green days, and that's what I did yesterday. 7 and 5, 2 units back into the bankroll. That puts me up over 30 units in the past 30 days. That's like you giving me $1 and I give you $2 back every single day. Who doesn't love that return on their money? Because I know I do. Now look, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't. There's only 8 games that are all tonight, so we need to go ahead and jump into those now. First game, we got the Brewers and the Phillies. We got Wilson with a 3-1-9 up against Wheeler with a 2-3-2. Betting markets are showing us the Phillies are a minus 220 on the money line, over under 8.5 with some juice on that under. Looking at the data though, we're not looking at the Nerfy. 41's not good enough to really mess with on the percent wise. Runs a game. Milwaukee is getting 7.3 runs a game, which is second best in the last 3 games. They were 6.8 over the last week, which is number 1. They are batting as a team 351 as a team in the past 3 games. That's second best. They are crushing the ball and getting dudes across the plate. We love to see that. Philly, on the other hand, ain't doing it. They are only 14th for 4.7 runs, and they are 25th, batting a smooth 208. So they are struggling to hit the ball. They're both striking out poorly, 25th and 28th, so 10 Ks and 10.7. First thing I notice here, strikeout prop is in play for both of them, because anytime you're 25th or worse, we want to look at the prop for the other pitcher, especially when it comes to 2 pitchers that Wheeler, 85 strikeouts over 73 innings. That's definitely going to look at. Wilson, not as much, but I want to see the number. 39 for 48 innings. That's not even 1 an inning, but we'll still look at it just to see, just because Philly's striking out so much. So because they are 10.7, which is 28th. This one, the numbers clearly lean Milwaukee. I cannot, in good faith, put minus 220 on Philadelphia when Milwaukee is number 2 in runs and number 2 in batting average over the last 3 days. I can't do it. Anyone in the right mind wouldn't do it. The numbers don't line up. There isn't a pitching matchup advantage either. So for this one, I'm not taking Philly money line. I'm going to take Milwaukee money line, because looking at the numbers here, the stats tell me to take Milwaukee. I can get my plus 170. Now, if you want to play safe, plus 1.5 or minus 120 is much safer, obviously. But I'll probably roll the dice and do both, a unit on each one of these. You know, why not, right? So total wise, 8.5. With these 2 pitchers being pretty decent, they both strike out a lot. I don't trust to hit the over or the under, so we'll pass on that. We'll take Milwaukee money line, run line, and also look at the K props for both pitchers. Next game. Next up, we got the Mets and the Nationals. We got McGill with a 169 with a 1 whip against Gore with a 292 with a 128 whip. What a beautiful pitching matchup we have here. Looking at the betting markets, we have the Nationals as a minus 120 favorite. Over under 7.5 with some juice on the over. Data time, 48.7% Nerfy, not worth talking about. That needs to be closer to 70. Runs a game favors the Mets, 6.3 over the last 3 games, which is 5th. Washington, 2.7, which is 26. So we have a heavy advantage New York on this one. Batting average, New York, 290 for 5th. Washington, 188 as a team is 27th. Again, advantage New York. Strikeouts, they're both 10 and 13. That's 7.3 and 8.3. That's a slight advantage New York as well. We have 3 advantages New York. Going back to the pitching side, we see McGill has a better ERA, a better whip, higher. I mean, the numbers here line up for New York. They have all 3 advantages. They have the pitching matchup, in my opinion. Even though it's only 16 innings, he's looked impressive. Gore is Gore. Gore's good. We know this. Neither team, we're going to look at strikeout props for either one, because they're both not striking out much. Even though Gore is definitely a strikeout pitcher, we're not going to look at that. We're not going to look at a total in this one. I do not particularly like the 7.5 in this one with 2 good pitchers, but we have the Mets offense is popping off right now. We will, however, look at that Mets money line. Plus 100 when they're better at runs, they're better in batting average, they're better at strikeouts, and they get statistically the better pitcher, even though it's only been 16 innings. I'm going to go New York money line and move on to the next game. Next up, we got Baltimore and Toronto. We got Rodriguez with a 3.53 and Gossman with a 4.14. Betting markets have the Orioles as a slight favor on the road, over under 7.5 here. Looking at the data, we have Baltimore on the road. And finally, I hate when Baltimore is at home because they just don't get it done. Look at Baltimore's NERFy percent. When Baltimore has road games, they as a team hit the NERFy 95.83% of the time. That puts you at an 81.64 when Toronto's at home, because they're hitting 85.1% NERFy when they're at home. So just statistics alone, you're at 81.6. So we have to take the NERFy in this game. To back up the NERFy stat, Toronto is only getting 3.7 runs a game, which is 20th, and they're batting 207 as a team. That's terrible. It's 26th. Baltimore makes it a little scarier because they are getting 5 runs a game, which is 9th, and they're batting 333, so they're batting pretty well. And they're number 1 in strikeouts at 5.7. Meanwhile, Toronto is 9.3 strikeouts for 20th. So we're definitely taking a NERFy in this game. The stats here clearly lean Baltimore. Back to the pitching side, there's a slight advantage Baltimore. If you look at the numbers, it's not much though. The whip's basically the same, so not much of an advantage. Based on the fact it's basically a pick 'em. I'm going to take Baltimore money line and the NERFy on this one. We're not going to take a total. I don't like to side either one of these totals. So just NERFy and Baltimore next game. Next up, Tigers and Rangers. We have Skubal with a 202 and Evaldi with a 284. Absolute beast of a pitching matchup we have in this one. Betting markets have it as a pick 'em. They don't know who's going to win. Pick a side. Over under 7.5. Heavy juice on the under. Makes sense when you have these beast pitchers. However, looking at the data, NERFy, not a chance, not even close. Looking at the numbers, we got 14th for runs a game for Detroit at 4.7. Texas at 5 or 9th. Not much of an advantage, but slight advantage Texas. Batting average, same story. 14th and 9th. We got 276 for Texas. 255 for Detroit, not much of an advantage. And strikeouts, 13th, 11th, they're both 8 and 8.3. There's no clear advantage on stats. There's no clear advantage on pitching. I do personally love Skubal. He is probably one of my favorite pitchers. 7-1 with a 202, Evaldi 284. It's a beast matchup. I don't trust the over-under. I don't trust the side. I don't even trust strikeout props in this one. I trust nothing. This entire game is going to be a pass. Move on to the next game. Next up, we got St. Louis and Houston. We got Gibson with a 3.6 against Verlander with a 3.26. Betting markets have it as a Astros minus 180 on the money line, over under 7.5 with some juice on that over. Data tells us NERFy 53%, not worth looking at. Statistically, they both are struggling. 2.7 to 3.0 on the runs. That's 26th and 24th. Both bottom 6 in runs per game over the last 3. Batting averages, St. Louis is dead last. 168 as a team over the past 3 games. Houston, 227, 21st. They're both struggling to hit the ball and score runs. And St. Louis is swinging at everything. 10.3 strikeouts for 26. Houston, being disciplined, only 6.7, so we have an advantage there. Looking at this game here, back at the numbers, 180 doesn't make sense. They're slightly better in batting average. There's 0.3 runs better, and yeah, Verlander's pitching, sure, but the numbers here aren't that much better than Gibson. So nothing is really standing out here in this one. There's no clear advantage on the over-under. There's no clear advantage in pitching. There's no clear advantage in stats. So sadly, this entire game is also going to be a pass. Next game. Next up, we got Cincinnati and Colorado. We got Abbott with a 3.29 against Feltner with a 5.46. Betting markets have it as a pick 'em. They don't know who's going to win. Pick your side. Over under 10.5 with some juice on the over. They expect a lot of runs in this game. Let's see if the data backs that up. NERFy, 45%, not what we're talking about. Stats, Cincy's 5 runs a game, which is 9th. Colorado is almost dead last at 1.7 over the last 3 games. So Colorado is struggling to score runs. Yes, it was against the Dodgers, but still, they're struggling to score runs because they did win one of those games. On the batting averages, Cincy's batting 280 for 6. Colorado's batting 223 for 22nd. We have 2 clear advantages for Cincinnati. And on the strikeouts, 29th for Cincy. They're swinging and everything for 11 strikeouts a game. And Colorado 23rd at 9.7. So no clear advantage there, but we do have some good advantages for Cincy on runs and batting average. Looking back at the pitching matchup, we see it's an advantage for Cincy on pitching as well, because Abbott is over 2 runs better and 0.37 whip better. So overall, Cincy has all the numbers and the pitching matchup, but yet they're only a pick 'em. I'm going to take, I don't know what the trap is here, but I'm going to take Cincinnati on the money line. I don't trust the over-under. How are you going to set this at 10.5 when Colorado's only getting 1.7 runs a game in the past 3 games? Are you expecting them to have a massive breakout and score like 7 runs? That might happen, but I'm not going to pay to find out. I'm going to put my money on Cincinnati to win the game and move on. All right, next up, we got San Diego and the LA Angels. We got Waldron with a 4.26 against Anderson with a 2.47. Betting markets have the Padres as a -145, over under 8.5 with some juice on that under. Data-wise, we have 41% Nerfy, not what we're talking about. Runs a game, San Diego, 7 runs a game is third best in the past 3 games. LA, 1.7, tied with Colorado for 29th. And we saw how that game went just a second ago. Batting averages, San Diego is batting 355 as a team in the past 3 games, 320 in the past week. You can't stop them. Their bats are on fire. Angels, 181 for 29th, 177 in the past week. They are horrible with the bats right now. So Angels can't hit the ball and they can't score. San Diego's hitting the ball and they are scoring. Look at these trend lines. They're maxed out to the different directions. It's crazy. Strikeouts, San Diego is always number 1. I swear, they're always first. So because they're just so disciplined. So 5.7 is first. They went up. They were 4, so they moved up a little bit. Angels, 9.7 for 23rd. So we have clear advantages for San Diego here. However, looking at the pitching matchup, there is an advantage for LA on pitching. I give them that. Yes. Waldron 4.26 though is not ideal, but there's such an advantage for San Diego here. I don't think it's going to matter. I think with these stats and the numbers here, 145 is not a bad number. It's not bad at all. I don't trust the over-under. You can't take an over-under with one team is fire and one team is ice. You can't do that. So I'm going to take San Diego money line, mainly because of this massive advantage statistically. Ignore the pitching matchup, which isn't that much of an advantage. It is still an advantage, but go with that. So San Diego money line, next game. Next up, San Francisco and Arizona. We got Nelson with a 6.03 up against, we don't know. It's a ghost. They have not announced. No one knows who San Fran is going to throw out a pitch. However, there are betting lines, though. So we have the Diamondbacks -135, over under 8.5 with 7 juice on that over. Data-wise, we do have team data, and we see that wrong game. Better game. Arizona is getting 8 runs a game. They are number 1 in the majors. They are on fire right now. Even though they're only batting 266 for 11th best, they are getting the dudes across the plate. San Fran, they have cooled off. They were on fire, but they have trends going down. They are coming back up a little bit. 3.3 runs a game for 22nd. They're batting 232 for 19th. So we have clear advantages, Arizona. Strikeouts per game, 13th and 30th. So Arizona is swinging at everything. However, we don't know who the hell's pitching for San Fran to take it. So when it does come out, I might look at whoever this person's strikeout props are. Either way, this pitcher probably isn't going to be somebody too great. It might be somebody from the minors. We don't know yet. This game literally is going to be a gamble because we're going to be taking the over in this one, mainly because Arizona's number 1 in offense. Ryan Nelson has a 6 ERA against it's San Fran's middle of the road to bottom 10, but I'm pretty certain San Fran's going to throw somebody out with a high ERA also, and Arizona's going to get them. So the main bets I'm going to do here is I'm going to take Arizona on the money line because of the offense, and we'll take the over 8.5. We're not going to look at any props in this one, just those 2 bets. 8 games, all broken down, stats given. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.